Oklahoma began, actually before Oklahoma began, the Summer Theater Academy began 4 years ago. That's when Westside started in 2008. And it started as a program for kids and adults, kids, teens, and adults, and it was a theater education program. And we'd been doing that for 4 years. We had 4 shows with great attendance. It got bigger and bigger every year. And last year, when we did it, we had over 50 people in the cast. And it dawned on us that we had outgrown ourselves and outgrown the program and the intent of the program. So what we decided to do was to split the show in half and do a junior academy for the kids, so that's ages 7 through 14, and do a professional fully staged production at the Cascade Theater, which was kind of one of my goals when we started the Westside Performing Arts Company. So it's been really great to see that come to fruition after these years of work. So that's kind of how Oklahoma came to be. It was a very long progression over the last 4 years of building our theatrical experience and our knowledge and, you know, all of this, and doing theater over the years. So choosing Oklahoma came about, I'm a huge Rodgers and Hammerstein fan. I always have been, because God bless my mother, she brought me up on musical theater, and I grew up listening to Oklahoma and The Sound of Music and South Pacific and The King and I and all of these classic Rodgers and Hammerstein hits. I've always been in love with them, and Oklahoma was one of them, and I knew it would be something that the Reading audience would just love because it's such a classic and it's a really good fit for our community. The music is so recognizable, and it's so nostalgic for people. You know, everybody knows the title song of Oklahoma, you know, and Oh, What a Beautiful Morning is just great. And our lead, Curly, Ryan Nemanek, is just amazing. He has grown as a performer a ton through this whole process, and he was wonderful to begin with. So we're really blessed to have him, and he sings the heck out of that song. He comes in, it's the start of the show, and just opens the whole show up with this wonderful song. Coming in from the side of the stage, just his little handsome face and his wonderful stage presence, and yeah, he just lights up the stage, and he starts it off nice and strong. So yeah, that's a great song. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. Everybody loves that one. And I Can't Say No is one of my personal favorites. That's a big belter song, and boy, did we find a belter. Lizzie Fitzgerald, holy cow, she was one of the best kept secrets in Reading. This gal, what a voice on this girl. She's a young performer, but she has a very developed instrument, and she's just amazing. Her facial expressions and her voice are quite the combination, so she sings the heck out of that one. Kansas City, our own Mark Amaker, who's a veteran in Reading. He's been doing theater and ballet here for years, and he's going to be singing the part of Will Parker. He'll be playing that part and singing Kansas City, and he does a great job. So lots of really well-known tunes. And then, of course, Hillary Rodgerson, who a lot of people know through Reading School of the Arts. She's the director there, drama instructor, and she's our Lori, and she'll be singing Out of My Dreams and Many New Day and a lot of those beautiful soprano songs from the show. So lots of great music in the score. Knowing the music in this show, that was the first thing that drew me in. I was like, oh, it's a great show, and I get to direct all this great music, and it's beloved music, everybody knows the songs and all of that. But once I finally got started with digging into the script and really reading into what the story was about and the characters, because I'd never seen a full production of Oklahoma. I'd never been in the show. I'd never directed it, so I knew it through its music. So once I really started digging into the script, I realized this is a whole other show in here that I never realized existed. You know, the parts that I had seen of Oklahoma are very bright and sunshiny, and it really revolves around the music of Rodgers and Hammerstein. You know, that's what everybody recognizes. That's what I recognized going into it. But when you dig into the script and you realize the depth of these characters and the time period that this is based in the early 1900s in Oklahoma, it's you know, this pioneer territory with these pioneer folks that are just trudging through life and scratching their homes out of the dirt and the prairie, and they're hardy and tough and rely on each other and rely on the community to survive. And they were just such admirable people to be able to live and survive in that time. And this story of finding love and community and making these hard decisions, you know, it all comes about through the story, and the music just aids it. You know, the script really stands on its own 2 feet. It really is hardy enough to do its own job. You know, you don't have to rely on the music to make this show, and I'd never realized that before. So with this particular show, because, you know, things like Carousel, which was also another Rodgers and Hammerstein hit, it's all about the music. There's not much to the script. Not so in Oklahoma. There's so much depth in it. And reading the play that Oklahoma was based on, Green Grow the Lilacs, there's even more back history to these characters and more depth to them, and, you know, more realizing what these characters had to go through in order to get to where they came to be at this point in their lives to create this moment that we see in the show. So I think that's one of the things that really sold me on it, and I owe a lot of that to Diane Venora. She was a wonderful mentor and an artistic visionary, and she and I spent hours going through the script and talking about the possibilities of what this could be and who these characters are and what they were really going through, and how to stir up the water and get all the mud off the bottom and get it all stirred up and get all the goodness to come to the surface just in the script. So yeah, it's been a really fun process, and I've learned a tremendous amount as a director about how to really dig into a script through this whole process and not rely on my musical background and the music to carry a show. One of my very favorite moments in the show is one that I didn't have to direct, and it's with the characters Ann Eller and Laurie. And there's a crisis that occurs in the show, and it's a shock to the community, and it's a tragedy. And Ann Eller, good old Ann Eller, has to take young Laurie aside and coach her through what she's having to endure at this part of her life. And she says all of these just meaningful and poignant moments of wisdom that come through from an aunt to a niece. And there's absolutely no blocking involved in that. It's just from one character to another, relaying her heart and years of wisdom to this young person, and it's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful moment, and there's nothing that I could do to make it any better than it is. That's definitely one of my favorites. It hits me in the heart every time I see it. One of the other moments in the show that is really poignant, that stands out to me, is Judd's transformation. And anyone that is familiar with the plot of the story knows that there is a point when this character goes from being someone that raises an eyebrow to someone that sits you back in your seat a little bit, where, you know, there's a little bit of, you know, you wonder what he's about to do. I don't want to give away the story, but the transition that happens in that scene is so powerful, and it just really relates to every person, I think, out there. They can relate to that, where when someone has finally had enough and they have finally been pushed to their limits emotionally and physically and psychologically, and they snap. You know, everybody's gotten to that point where they just break down, and seeing Judd's breakdown and seeing his heart break and seeing his determination to get what he wants and being so desperate that he's willing to do anything to obtain it, it's a very powerful moment in the show. And Jim Lydier is a very powerful singer, and he's in the song Lonely Room, when he's looking around and seeing his surroundings and realizing how lonely he really is, and what he's determined to do, that turning point when he decides what he's going to do to take matters into his own hands to make things happen his way. It's a very, very strong moment in the show, and it makes a very, very powerful impact, I think, for anybody that's been at their wits' end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that play out in the show. Audiences will really relate to is the chemistry between our Laurie and our Curly. They are so fun to watch. As soon as they get onto that stage, you know that something is going to happen between them, and they just play with each other. They just play with each other. They have this wonderful relationship, wonderful chemistry, and there's always this bantering going back and forth between them, and, you know, the delicate line walking between flirtation and hesitation and young love and everything. They play it so beautifully, and it's so entertaining. I laugh and laugh and laugh at rehearsals at the stuff that they come up with. They're just fabulous. So they're definitely one of my favorite parts. One of the things that was brought to my attention by a fellow director who's actually also in the show, Hillary Rodgerson, who's a brilliant, wonderful director, was to spend a great deal of time working with just the ensemble, and I think a lot of directors overlook that. And we took an entire day, an entire rehearsal of doing nothing but working with our ensemble cast and really drawing out all of their individual characteristics and individual characters, and they are so strong. They, even the ones that were not named in the script, they all have names, they know their relations to everyone else on the farm and the community, and they're very strong. They're very much a part of the community and of our Oklahoma family. And I think that was one of the best things, smartest things that we could have done in the show, was to make sure that everyone felt that they were completely a part of that community. And watching them interact together, the leads and the ensemble and everything that they're doing, they're just such a wonderful family, and they're very strong. They're a very strong supporting character within the show, and I'm so proud of all of them. They're just amazing. They're just the pillars that hold up the integrity of the show. There's certainly not a small part in it.